So I've spent the last few weeks researching some of these NBA draft prospects, and usually I don't have a lot of time to do that this time of year because I'm watching my team play in the playoffs. But since they wanted to fool around all regular season and put themselves in a position where Kelly Oubre could hurt Jimmy Butler, and then I'm forced to watch Tyler Hero brick every shot in the playoffs, and they get their ass kicked by the Celtics in the first round, I guess I'm still not over how the season ended, but I need to get over it because the 2024 NBA draft is coming up next month, where the Miami Heat do pick at 15 and 43, and I wanted to look into a lot of these prospects. Now, while doing that, I came across this video where Rasheed Wallace actually said that the Heat should take Zach Edey.
Wait, and we put him in, and as Tyler said, we put him in that Miami situation. What if he does go to Miami? That's what I'm talking about. If he does, that should have worked great for them.
And Rasheed mentions a few reasons. One of the things that he said is now Bam could switch more and not have to worry about centers killing the Heat, which is a great point. I mean, how many times did we see Bam switch onto someone this year just for him to get a stop, but then that team gets an offensive rebound because we had a 6'4" guy guarding their center? So I do get what Rasheed is saying there, because I would like to see Bam continue to guard those perimeter players because he's great at it. We've seen him teach the Bam lesson to Steph Curry and Damian Lillard and Kyrie Irving, and the list goes on and on. Now, Rasheed Wallace also says that obviously Edey is slow and that would impact him on the defensive end, but the Miami Heat have those other defenders that can kind of help him in that area. And Rasheed says, especially since the Heat play a lot of zone. Now, that's not something that I necessarily agree with because, yeah, in zone, the whole point is kind of picking up for each other and helping each other out. That's all the more reason that you need a fast player to play in zone, especially at the 5, in the center if you're playing a 2-3. Because the guy that plays down low middle in a 2-3 zone is the guy that has to be the most athletic, because he not only has to cover in front of him, but he got to cover in the left and the right and this way, and he just has to cover the most ground because he has guys going back door, in front of him, behind him, everything, right? So I don't think Zach...
Whoa, stop the video. I see you ain't subscribed yet. That's crazy. Nah, but for real, go ahead and subscribe. Leave a like if you enjoy. Really got a dream to do this full time one day, and it helps your boy out a lot. Thank you.
He would actually be a very good zone player, but in general, the Heat are a slower team, especially offensively. So maybe Zach Edey could fit in this system. I kind of get what Rasheed is saying there, even though I think one of the Heat's biggest problems on offense is that they were slow, and I'd like to see them speed things up a bit next season. I wouldn't necessarily listen to what Rasheed Wallace has to say about Zach Edey. That's nothing against Sheed. The dude is a legend. I love the guy, right? But he also did say this about Zach Edey.
I think he should be #1 pick. If any GM got sense, that's #1 pick for sure.
Ooh, yeah. Hold on. You hear this? Hold on.
You hear this? I said it.
I'm just saying, that's the water. You hear this? That ain't the water. You hear this? That ain't the water.
And you can hear Gilbert Arenas call him crazy. And when Killer Gil calls somebody else crazy, then that means that they must actually be crazy, because Gilbert is off his rocker sometimes. Sometimes when I'm recording, I be saying phrases I've never said before. Off his rocker. I know what it means. It means someone's insane, but I've never said that before. Anyways, let's talk about Zach Edey's fit on the Miami Heat, right? Which most people would agree. I think almost all Heat fans would agree. Nobody wants Zach Edey because the fit-wise, it doesn't work well, right? And it's almost impossible to find something that everyone agrees on nowadays, especially Heat fans. Now, I do want to say that is also a statement I said a couple videos ago when I was talking about Bam Adebayo's extension. I basically said all Heat fans seem to agree Bam deserves his extension. That's what I was hearing on NBA Twitter, but then I had a majority of my comments on that video were disagreeing with me. So I know it's hard for Heat fans to agree, but I think this is something that we agree on. We don't want Zach Edey, right? The negatives are obvious. He's a slow, old school, slow big man who can't shoot, and he's really slow. Did I mention that he's slow?
Here we go. Beat.
Now, I'm certainly not the guy to talk. Y'all know I'm a hooper. I like to hoop, but I am the stereotypical white boy that likes to stay my ass at the 3-point line, and I'm unathletic as hell. Well, let me not just say I'd stay at the 3-point line. Y'all know I got a little bit of the post game, which Zach Edey does as well. We gonna get into that. But anyways, I'm unathletic as hell. You could barely slide a piece of paper under me when I jump, but Zach Edey just takes slowness to a whole other level. All right, so we know he's not quick, but what's the positives? Well, obviously, the dude is big. I mean, my guy is massive. I mean, just listen to those giant footsteps when he runs. And you can see below me right here, these are his official measurements at the combine. So he basically came in around 7'4" with a 7'11" wingspan and weighing almost 300 pounds. All right, so Zach Edey is big and he's slow. Does this mean that he's Taco Fall? Well, no, absolutely not. Listen, don't disrespect Zach Edey like that. I mean, Taco Fall was even more uncoordinated. The dude could not run. The dude could not dribble. The dude could barely walk, I guess. And I mean, he wanted to be a computer scientist. I guess I'm not surprised. He was a classic case of a guy who was literally only in the NBA because he was tall. But he's uncoordinated. He doesn't know how to use his body. He's even less athletic than Zach Edey is. And have you seen his jump shot form?
The floor to rebound earlier and now leaving the floor. Ooh. And he made that free throw.
I guess I should say one of his many shooting forms because the guy couldn't keep a consistent form to save his life. And in the NBA, he was a 32% free throw shooter. You compare that with what Zach Edey did in 4 years at college, where he was 71%. Over 70% from the big man for a guy that's obviously getting to the line a lot because they can't guard him. They have to foul him. That's a really great percentage. And it's not a surprise that his percentage is great because his form actually looks pretty decent, right? At least for a big man. I mean, it's fluid. It's all in one motion. He gets full extension on the jump shot, which for big guys, that's not something you see that often, right? They usually tend to alligator arm it because they're so tall. So he gets the full extension. He gets great follow through on that wrist action. And his jump shot pretty much looks the same every time. There were some videos I saw from his pro day last year and from the combine this year. You could see him raining some mid-ranges, raining some threes, and the form looks good. It looks consistent. So maybe that's something that one day he can be some sort of stretch five, or at least a guy that takes a 3 a game, every other game, maybe. But obviously, that's not his game, right? He primarily dominated on the inside with a lot of post touches, right? And like I said, y'all know me. I got a foot fetish for the footwork, particularly when it comes to Jaime Jaquez. But also, too, I like to point it out on occasion. I got the Hakeem Olajuwon Funko Pop behind me. Favorite player of all time. I just like guys that have footwork, right? And while Zach Edey's footwork isn't great, right? He doesn't have a huge bag or nothing. He's not DJ Burns. We saw them play against each other in the March Madness just 2 months ago now. But Zach Edey does have a jump hook, right? He can spin over his left shoulder. He can spin over his right shoulder. And he has a little bit of a drop step. We see him go from that from time to time, right? And really, that's all you need when you're 7'4". You just need 1 or 2 moves in your bag that you can go to. And most importantly, right, he has a soft touch around the rim. That's how he's able to get a lot of nice bounces on his jump hook and even just get the ball in the hoop, because that is one of the hardest things for big men when playing out of the post. They can get a jump hook off, right? It's not hard to spin over your left shoulder, right shoulder, but to be able to have the touch at that size to get the ball in the rim, that is something that I do actually find really impressive about Zach Edey. And on top of all that, he should obviously dominate the pick and roll and pick and lob game if the Heat were to ever get a point guard. Maybe that would be nice. But also, when Zach Edey's in the post and he gets double teamed, he has shown an ability to pass out of a double team, right? His vision isn't great, his passing isn't great, but he has shown that he is capable of making the right read. And I certainly think that's a skill set that he can continue to improve upon. Unlike, y'all know my favorite player, Hassan Whiteside. I'm a big Whiteside guy if y'all didn't know, but I will be the first to admit that, well, 1, he was lazy and he did stat chase. I'll admit that. But 2, when he was actually on the court, even in his prime, the man could not pass out of a double team to save his life. His career high was like 2 assists for the longest time, right? That is not something that Zach Edey is that bad at, right? So if he was able to find some post touches in today's NBA, which I would like to believe he could, right? With all these other teams going small ball, there's no reason they can't look for Zach Edey, 4 to 5 times a game in the post. And if they do start to double him, like let's say Edey starts cooking, go back to, back-to-back possessions, they will start to double. He can pass out and then find one of the shooters that are spacing the floor for him. So maybe Zach Edey isn't the worst pick for the Miami Heat because, I mean, they need size. At the end of the day, I just want someone who is big, even if it's for the sake of being big. Now, would I waste a draft pick on someone like that? No, certainly not. That's why I really don't want Zach Edey. I guess I should make that clear. And truthfully, I don't think he's going to be a good NBA player. So I know I'm going to be positive on him for the sake of this video, but I don't really believe in him. But I suppose if the Heat were to take him, this is me talking myself into the pick, right? The guy averaged 12 rebounds a game in college, played 32 minutes a game. So his conditioning is obviously well enough, right? He almost played all game of every game. I understand college basketball is a slower sport, but still his conditioning is there. And while the fit with the Heat obviously isn't great, you do have Bam starting to extend his range to the three-point line. Jimmy Butler was over 40% from three last year. Is that sustainable? I don't know, but if it is, and if Bam continues to shoot threes, then maybe they could play with Zach Edey on the court, I guess. And if not, he can be a backup big man to throw in there if you're getting killed on the boards. Because Orlando Robinson, Thomas Bryant, those guys are 6'10". Zach Edey has a whole half a foot on him. So if the Heat take Zach Edey at 15, no, I'll be mad because you should not take him in the first round. But if the Heat do take Zach Edey at 43, well then I'll still be mad because I want Bronny James. I'm not gonna lie to you. But that's all I gotta say for this video. So let me know y'all thoughts on Zach Edey to the Miami Heat down below. Do you believe in him or do you think he's a big stiff bum like Rudy Gobert? You let me know down below. I'll be reading all your comments. Most importantly, make sure to like the video and subscribe because I'm on the grind to 5K subs by the start of next season. So if you're watching this video, hit the button. It's free, and I do greatly appreciate all of you a ton. And I'll see y'all next time. So peace out.
Look, pull up in your city trying to get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.